Ready. All right. Yeah, we're recording. So, hi everyone again, and yeah, we're going to have a discussion Q&A on the Ascension, and everything is connected also in the external world to this Ascension, and the reasoning why is that we're actually here to ascend the planet while we're going through our own individual ascension process as well, uh, and everything that involves. So, that is for the most part why one's y- you're ready to leave the old world, but it still persists, and that's just simply because we don't have it fully transitioned yet, and all is playing their roles at doing that. And what is beautiful with it as we go forward, just to try to look back 10 years ago and compare how many were, let's say, in their power then to now. Their numbers have greatly fanned out since then. So we've seen what we call waves of ascending consciousness. And having said that, I've seen subsequent waves of awakening since 2012, if you will. So we're forever going forward and we persevere. And yes, we do get it done at some point, if you will. Uh, and this is what it's all about. And I had to put out a reminder, I think last night, yeah, that everyone truly, uh, you all are, let's say, protected and secured. But I don't wish to use those words because they're more so fear-based, if you will, because in reality, for what we are divinely, we don't need any protection. And it's when all of the barriers comes down and all of the guards and let's say when one becomes totally naked and vulnerable, that's when the power comes in to replace all of that shedding of the old. And, it's the surrender into the new reality and to not in the old to allow uh, the old way to dictate and to dominate on how you would behave, but also what you could create. So when that's all shaken, let go of, and you're bare naked, then you're able to accept the new divine abstract reality, if you will, that we exist in. And at that point, you can call it the duality because you divinely know that this world is not as it seems and that there is the divine aspect and element that governs an overlay onto this actual reality. And and again, you become aware that you're in transitioning mode and transitioning as well uh, with Gaia, with Mother Earth, the planet, whatever you wish to call it. So it's all inclusive. And if it was not divinely supposed to be this way, ideally every individual would have already ascended their self, um, meaning the advanced ones, because you already had all of the divine tools and knowledge of how to do it. But each one of you know that you were blocked by some abstract force, again, some unseen force. Seems like it has prevented you from going further. And that force is the divine plan and the divine regulator that ensures that ones don't advance too far ahead of the others, and to ensure that you stay in this reality until the mission is done. So again, at times, if any feels that they may be blocked, no, that is not the case. If you feel you're disconnected from source, no, that is not the case. And the reasoning for it is if also, let's say, if you're connected to source uh, full time of every second of every day, uh, you would be, let's say, taken somewhat aside from what you're supposed to be doing here. So again, it's divinely ensured that no, you're not, let's say, connected on a distinct communication level with source unless needed daily. So you need to still participate in the old reality to evolve it forward with your co-creator application and abilities. And during the course of that, you are divinely subjugated to negative tests and experiences to be able to energetically reconcile and evolve these experiences forward to a place where they no longer serve and they're no longer needed. But as part of this journey, this is what I'll refer to as the embodiment process, and the embodiment process is part of doing your inner work with every fear that you master. And the fear spectrum is wide with many attributes: ignorance, sarcasm, frustration, impatience. All of these are attributes of fear. So each one needs to do the inner work to not act out of those old ways. And then what you find is that your energetic aura or your energetic being begins to advance, and also your physical vessel. So this is also what I say about the purity, why it's so important. And it's the purification of the lower density acts, reactions, emotions, thoughts. Because again, you are a very important, powerful co creator, which means, in the least, you are manifesting and adding to your reality, and you only wish to be in your reality the positive magnet, if you will. You want your energetic field set up to be positive so that you attract as many of the good things that catapult and enhance and support you going forward, and lesser of the negative things. But to do this, to be able to eliminate all of the negative things, you have to have embodied within you the opposite, pure, virtuous thing, pure of the lower density acts. And the higher density acts are the joy, the love, the bliss, the gratitude, the harmony, the peace, the sharing, uh, compassion without lowering into sympathy, if you will, for its most, and sympathy in the definition at not going into a, uh, uh, well, I don't need to explain that. You know what I mean. And just realizing as well what is so important, that there is no death like the human experience may think it is. That's not what occurs. Uh, we are souls, souls that are connected to Prime Creator. We are sparks of that same source, and we exist for all times. And if it was known uh, directly to some of you right now, you will know that you have existed at least for billions of years, if you will. But for us, there is no time, so that means you have existed uh, for infinity in the least, without making it confusing. All right, so at this point, I'm going to unmute some more. And does anyone have any questions now, or do you have any topics or subjects that we could discuss and I could elaborate on? Thank you. Speak right up.
Hi, Rick, Andrea.
Hi, Andrea. Go ahead.
Um, a while back, the fear spirit come up, the jaguar, the sacral chakra, and I remember you mentioning that. And so I've been continuously facing my fear in the awake state, and now I'm noticing. And I'm remembering when I was a child in my dream state, I would play checkers with a vampire. And if I lost, which was very, very often, I would go down this chute and I would go into a nightmare of some sort, didn't matter what it was. Was connected to unconscious, whatever that was. I was too young to understand that. And um, then when I won, I got to pick the dream that I had. And when I was in the nightmare itself, I knew that that nightmare, like, I had played checkers with this vampire, so I wasn't there was sort of like this disconnect from the dream, most of the times, and some of the times it was very, vivid, and sharks came up a lot. Sharks have been coming up, so I just jumped in the water with these sharks and I let them eat me. And in a meditative state in real time. And then I noticed that my unconsciousness through my dreams, I'm looking at it, observing it, and bearing witness to it, and not it's there's a very distinct detachment now because of this remembering that I had when I was a kid. And when I wake, I'm not scared or shaken by the dream like I used to be. I i look at it, I only look at it not analytically, but where's the lesson in it for me? What am I attached to? What am I projecting? What is a belief system that doesn't serve me well? Those kind of questions. What am I judging? And I sit, and now this light language comes in, and my future selves come in the morning upon waking from these dream states. And once I say I participated in this and I acknowledge that, and I take responsibility for my part in it, and then a healing process comes in. And I notice that in some of the dreams, I'm just there watching past friends go through what they're going through, like I'm bear witnessing to them, and it's not really mine. So I feel like this unconsciousness that I never I couldn't I like, it went from shadow work to now there's these little threads that I'm noticing unconsciously, and it's beautiful how people reflect that back to me. But now my dream states almost, it's doing it for me. I was wondering if this is going on for other people, or and they don't know it, or
Well, this is excellent, Andrea. Before I comment on this, or before we collaborate, let's see. Is there anyone else that has experienced the similar things what Andrea has just described. If there's anyone
Yes.
else, thanks. Speak up, Paula. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, Rick. Hi, Andrea. Thank you. Yeah, actually, I have been having these interesting dream states every night for about 2 weeks where somebody comes into my dream that I haven't spoken to or some that I even thought of in, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And my sense, my feeling was like I was wrapping up whatever was still there in my subconscious that needed to be cleared out. Every night, there is probably 3 or 4 different people. They're seemingly unrelated, and I'm working something out with them. So I don't know if that's kind of similar. It's not exactly what Andrea is saying, but there's some similarities there. And I do notice I feel like a few of these people are energy vampires, what we would call, or maybe some people might call them like soulless, right? Or NPCs. And in those situations, I find myself being kind of like a warrior with them. Like, no, I'm not going to put up with this. You're not siphoning my energy. This is done. And I'm just shutting that down completely. So they must have been still trying to maybe take some energy from me or something. So that's my experience.
Well, thank you, Paula. And it does pertain and it does add to this discussion. Anyone else wish to contribute right now on this topic? Speak right up. Go ahead.
Hi, I got something kind of similar, I think, too. um, it started quite a few years ago, like probably over 10 years ago, maybe 20 even. Um, but it was like having um, sensations or kind of a uneasy, creepy feeling inside you, like and almost like a disintegration of yourself, kind of. And it used to really scare me when it was happening. I didn't know what it was. Kind of felt almost like you were just rotting away or deteriorating. And then um, recently, like maybe 2 years ago, like it hasn't happened for a while. Then it came back one time, and I recognized it, and I just felt like, um, oh yeah, here you are again. Like if you want to call it vampire or dark spirit or something, felt like it was within you or something. And kind of makes your mind race and think of all these different things. Um, and then I just kind of felt like I faced it and went like into it or up to it or into it as far as you can. And then I just kind of felt like a lot of confidence and nothing to be afraid of anymore. And I just kind of laughed and I said, "Is that all you got?" And you're kind of in and out of sleep. And then it felt like, and it was really dark. Like I, I try to open my eyes and you can't. Like they feel like they're rolled black, and you can't open your eyes. And then almost like you're in almost like a bit of a convulsion, even like. And then and then um, I was able to open my eyes, but it was completely dark. I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face in the room. And then as I'm kind of laughing at this, whatever it was, feeling, um, it felt like it just from the bottom of my feet right through me and just left. And just kind of feeling like it was just gone. And after laughing at it, saying, "Is that all you got?" And it just left and hasn't come back, anything like that. And yeah, so that's kind of similar what I kind of thought uh,
Yeah,
came into play here.
thank you, Frank. Yeah, thank you, Frank, for contributing. It's great to have you on here too, brother. Uh, at this time, before I ask if anyone else has anything to add to this dream discussion, I feel I should say a few things and then we'll continue on. Um, Number one, so with going back to Andrea, what she said is that, let's say, her reconciling the subconsciousness, which is also the lower ego, in her dreams, she is reconciling that with her tests, what were attached, but also the unseen conscious layers that lay into the subconsciousness, which was programming and imprinting from the lower reality. And for ones that had listened to what Andrea said, uh, she had shared also how it evolved, if you will, that she has become the observer, watching it play out. Now, with this, what occurs is that, yes, as we know, we never do sleep and we don't require rest for our conscious spirit of what we are. The reason why we do sleep and have a rest is for these organic vessels, if you will. It's necessary because, if you will, these are the organic vessels for this reality that contains our spirit and our soul. And this is a lower density reality which operates different uh, on what is known as the law of physics. And thus, this is why we go into metaphysics and omniphysics, and it's all divine physics. But getting back on track here, um, to what was occurring with Andrea, and I loved it. She stepped us right through, the evolution of part of recognizing and identifying even what you could call her alter ego that was there, that was ruled by the subconsciousness. And when we look at doing our inner work and our divinity, it is a battle that does occur between the higher consciousness and the hidden subconsciousness. And so there is a lot that takes place with that. And a lot of that work is done, if you will, in the dream state time, in the astral time. And it is from that at times that, unbeknownst to you, as a result of what you did in your dream, you will play out a higher version of that in your next day to begin to apply the higher remedies to the test. Now, it does occur for some on an oblivious level to what they're doing for most, but some becomes to recognize it. And especially with Andrea, where she took the observer, like if she was watching herself perhaps in the dream. So what she becomes is the neutral observer, which is also a separate part of her consciousness that is able to guide and instruct and to evolve the subconsciousness into its empowerment as well. So, what occurs in the dreams? Dreams, for the most part, are always metaphoric. However, however, there is always the exception to the rule. Whereas in the case when you are, let's say, writing your script for the following day, you will have a dream that is very vivid, but the following day, usually, it plays out exactly what you had created in your dream state. So, with that, that is one attribute and important knowledge to know about your dream state. Now, coming back with what Frank had said about this. this fear and how it left him the last time, like where it was trying to take control about 2 years ago. I'll call it a fear because it was negative energy, and Frank recognized that. So it went out through his feet. But what has actually occurred is that Frank has taken the divine control over that by uh, empowering more of his virtue in its purity than the remnants of the alter ego, what you would call, I don't want to call it the negative side, but I'll call it the negative side of your existence in the lower dimension. So, what we are doing bit by bit, that negative side, which ones would refer as the dark side, you begin to limit that proportionately and incrementally as you do your divine work of embodying the purity. So it is also a part of the process. And a very important part to know this. In actuality, for all of you that is reading this or listening to this here, for us, there is really no evil that can harm or do anything to you. There is an evil environment out there. However, it is not us. We are not one with it. We are different. And it's important to have that uh, that differential with it, and to understand that no, we are not evil. It is not what we are intrinsically. We are divine souls. We are the opposite of it. Yes, there is evil out there, but we are not one with it. It's not with us. The only thing we had in us is negativity, if you will, that some would label dark, or some would even perhaps in the past try to pin an evil on that negativity. But that's not evil. It is just negative. It is a density. And this dense negative energy was a requirement to keep you in and fixated in this lower dimensional reality. If you did not have that negativity and density in your field, you would not be able to sustain an existence there. So it was necessary to have that. However, in the upliftment, in the ascension, and I love the word rapture because it's an upliftment, if you will, and it's a upliftment into consciousness. So it's a great description of what's occurring bit by bit as you master the negative things within yourself. Again, you raise up in vibration, and we go to the fully positive light world. And the light doesn't mean just your physical vessel going to full light. What it means is keeping your physical vessel, if you choose, and go into an energetic environment that is all pure, that it is light, it is pure light, but you can exist with your physical vessel in that. And to be able to do that, that's why all of the negative imprints and programs must go here now before you can go into that. So, getting back to the dreams, yes, again, the dreams are so important. There was, I'm trying to think of something else I was going to touch on, but having said that, I'm going to stop there. And does anyone wish to add anything else to this with the dreams, or do you have any questions or comments at this time before we continue? Thank you.
Hi, Rick, um, and everyone. This is Paula again. I had the same fear state, kind of like what Andrea was saying earlier, like a similar theme every day, where I'm waking up and I'm feeling like in this fear. about the same thing. And then I've remind myself, that I'm greater than that, and just to work through it and to move out of the fear state. But it's been really strong the last 2 weeks. For some reason, it seemed to just kind of come out of nowhere. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula. You actually brought back what I was going to say. What I also need to add here, each one needs to know that your telepathy is becoming stronger and stronger, and even as you sleep, all information is projections from others, and also you have the um, information from the internet, which is in the energetic environment. So constantly, even when you're awake and when you're asleep, you don't see it, but these radio waves, if you will, of information is out there everywhere. When, with the cellular phones, when one has a phone call, there is an energetic connection that you don't see. So I need to say that this is out there, but also uh, human souls also, because of our telepathic ability that is becoming stronger, we read thoughts, and how you read thoughts is picking up on the energetic information stream. So when you're asleep at night, and when you're in, let's say, the uh, semi sleep, or just in that in between theta state, if you will, there is so much energetic information that is going by. And this is why also in your dream state, you need to discern what is actually yours and what actually is anomalous. It's just an anomaly that happened to enter your conscious telepathic information stream as you sleep. Now, it's important not to put, as Andrea said, not to put too much emphasis and stress on trying to figure out what the dream that you're having is telling you, because it's quite possible it may just be an anomaly as well, and it may not really pertain to anything you're doing. So you also need the discernment. And the best way in deciphering for yourself your dreams, if they carry a metaphoric message, is in the moment. If you're able to discern quickly that it does have a higher meaning, then you can apply that and observe it neutrally to what it means, and have your observations as you go through the day with that in mind. However, if you wake from your dream and don't readily see how it applies to anything, just let it go. Don't think about it, because it's possible it was an anomaly. Now, getting back to the dreams, yes, what we have is identity labels in the dreams that are symbolic as well, and will play the roles. And it's important to know that it doesn't necessarily, if you have a dream about your family, it doesn't necessarily mean it's about your family that the dream or the message pertains to. It could be just the demeanor of your sister, as being a micro example of something macro. So you don't wish to restrict what is occurring to your family. It's best to be neutral and objective onto it, and don't hinder it, and to look at anything in your dreams as examples or just labels or symbolic indicators. And then what you will find is you will begin to unravel for you much more of an understanding with your dreams and what is occurring. Now, going a little bit back to what Andrea had said, if you will, about the Black Panther analogy, and which was mostly feminine in the sacral release process. Yes, worldwide that was quite extensive. And for anyone that would have been neutrally observing that, you would have seen what I call so many themes that had risen up during the course of one's going through that stranglehold battle with their limited belief systems. And many tried to hang on tooth and nail to their comfortable belief systems, but for those meant to go forward, they could not. Um, began because one reason why their limited beliefs were unraveled uh, for them, and their consciousness could not resonate with them. So they would advance forward. And as you advance forward consciously, while you're in the uh, awakened, coherent state daily, when you're not sleeping, um, what is occurring is more information is coming in from the higher vibration, higher frequencies, if you will, that enables you also to take your mastery further forward. So you're also opening your soul's channels to this knowledge. In your soul, channel in the spark of what you are, and let's put it the seat of the soul in the center of your chest. It's all of your knowledge. Again, we need to say that your soul exists for all times. And what that means is that your soul has all of the answers. And what it also means is you begin to purify the negativity and go into the positive, you become more resonant with your soul. And what you begin to do is acclimatize your humanoid actress role here to be higher and higher because you are accessing the information that your soul already has, and you are applying that to yourself in this now. So just before we take this a little bit more forward, because I don't know if I answered everything thus far, I wish to share last night that Femke and I were invited by our host over to her place to have, by the way, organic homemade pizza, vegetarian, and it was absolutely phenomenal. But her daughter, one of her daughters, just happened to say to us, uh, she says, I have dreams that come true the next day. It's somewhat like that, but what it does, I said, that caught my attention. I think she's around 10 years old or so, and these children, three girls, they're princesses, divine angels, and Femke and I just love them, but they're also gifted. So I was very happily taken aback and amazed when just out of the blue this one she said it in that way. So but it was very important because it also showed that, let's say she's at I think around 10 years old, uh that she is fully aware of, let's say she has dreams, and they're happening exactly the next day. So that awareness also is an introduction to her gifts, and to know that it is very real. And it's her introduction to, let's say, the higher divine paranormal realm. But it's also obvious that she is not fully existing in the lower timeline, that she is actually experiencing a form of duality in the least herself. So she has, as I said earlier, this world is not as it seems. I love that phrase because what it shows is that, yeah, for the most part, there are two distinct timelines, a lower and a higher timeline, but there's also tributaries of that. Let's get back to it. Seems like, Andrea, I may be missing something I wanted to expand upon on what you said, and I think Frank have covered mostly everything. But I'm going to open it up again. And was there anything I missed or any other part we should go into on the dreaming? Go ahead, anyone. Well, I believe then we've got the dreaming aspect as well covered enough generally, if you will, because as most of you saw, to fully and intricately explain in detail everything with it, again, there are books written on this, and of course, new books to be written. So we could be pretty extensive, but if everyone feels good with that, let's move on to another topic or subject. So, anyone have any comments, topics, or questions? Go right ahead. The floor is open.
I do, Rick. Hi, everybody. This is Dina. Hi.
Just go ahead.
Um, it it's when more and more, or actually every night, when I lay down to go to sleep with my eyes closed, there is a light that is usually on the left or the right, and I open my eyes to look around and see if there's, if I left a light on or something. I close my eyes and it's pretty bright. And then I feel um, my temporal areas, usually more on the right and around the ears, being manipulated, almost like probes. And I sense that it's Palladian, that I don't know what they're doing or why, but it's just been on and on and on, and it's getting more and more. So I just thought maybe I would finally address it and see if anybody else is witnessing this. So okay.
Thank you, Dina. I'll just make a short commentary on this and then we can open it up on this discussion. One thing I will say is that your physical eyes are changing to multi-dimensional proportions. There's also involved a screen, if you will, that needs to be um, constructed with the physical eye. So if you look at the lens of the eye, but also the coating, these things are changing with the physical humanoid eye to be able to see into the other dimensions and to be able to maintain an eyesight there. So with these lights out of your peripheral and even in with your eyes closed, out of the peripheral and even in let's say your straightforward sight with your eyes closed. Yes, there are different lights that occurs. There are different frequencies. One thing that you can do is when you lay down in the night, when you close your eyes, you can see what is the prominent color. Uh, what that does, it describes what your energetic space is like at that time. As an example, when Femke and I lay down in the nights, we're in the love. So when I close my eyes, I keep seeing all pink, you know, most of the time. And if there's a little bit of transmuting we're doing for the collective, or even a little bit of ourself, we will see it reflect the purple color, the violet color, if you will, and other times golden colors. But getting back to your eyesight, yes, it's constantly being worked on And what I wish to say is that with the ears, the tickling in the ears, that is so important that we'll feel like there's a bug or something in there. Everyone needs to understand that also your ears are being upgraded, the way that they work and the way that they detect sounds and frequencies, because these are part of your tools on able to discern in the least what timeline you're on. When you hear the high frequency pitch, you're on a higher timeline with, what the Orthodox medicine calls it tinnitus, but it's actually a gift. And if you're on a lower timeline, you might not hear anything. You might hear a dull whoosh when you get taken down there divinely, or you may hear static. So it's important also to listen quietly to the sounds that you hear. And one of the best places to do that again is when you lay down motionless in the bed and you have yourself right calmed at your most peaceful state, then hold your breath and you will hear the frequency raise. Because what you're actually doing is putting yourself in a higher multi-dimensional energetic state of being at that time. Um, so that becomes fun as well. So I'll stop there. Is it anything else, Dina, on the?
Well, yeah, that answers that. And I'm wondering, so when I'm doing my seeing traveling, it's always kind of dim. And then I'll get a flash of vivid light, or I'll get a change of the terrain and it startles me. And then I lose everything. And I don't know why I get startled. It just, but then I have to start all over again, or I lose it completely. So that might be something that they're working on, but it's frustrating sometimes.
All right. With this, Dina, it's not something they're working on. It's something you have to do. And one thing you just it is a fear. So one thing where you just said it becomes frustrating. That is one fear that you can work on to eliminate. The other fear is that before you go into your travels, into your remote viewing, and even when you're taken, is just to fully surrender to it in full trust, always. This is all divine, everything that occurs with us. See, and if you don't fully surrender into it, and if you have some fear still in your energetic makeup, if you will, it will shut it down because where you're going is into with your where you're being taken, with assistance by perhaps the Pleiadian galactic facet, is you're being taken while still while still conscious into these other multi-dimensional realms. But to do that, again, where you're being taken and shown things, if you will, perhaps, fear does not exist. So if you have that, it will act like a repellent and it will shut you down. So just embody more of the trust and also look at yourself if there's what else is shutting it down. What is the reason why do you go into fear? Which fear is it? So you can itemize it, if you will, and then begin to apply the opposite positive virtue of that and program it into your system, and then it will no longer become a hindrance. Does that make sense, or is there anything else with that?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I believe that. I think that's it. I think I need to be better prepare myself before I do the travel, I guess. Um,
I would actually say no, not in the old way. The actual way that you prepare yourself is that you're ready to go, if you will, at any given time, and that there actually is no preparation. The only preparation is to be able to freely go whenever you're called. You don't need to think about it beforehand because, again, as a powerful conscious co creator, if you began to think about it from the logical state yet of the human consciousness, then you begin to enter into the equation complexity and which limits it and you need everyone needs to know that when you begin to question things that a lot of times it doesn't come from a place of ignorance, it comes from a place of fear, which is the lack of trust. Questioning things is an important part of one's process. However, don't overdo it and be very well aware that it could be restrictive to yourself as well. And what you don't want is any limitations to hold you back. We are going with all of your gifts and your abilities, we are going have we're already in uncharted waters, if you will, with these experiences, and no one wishes to diminish them at all. You wish to enhance them and have them because they're also for very important divine purposes to be shared, uh, on earth here with the others like-minded and also to compile a huge testimony of that this is very real for the others so that they have something to walk into. So yeah, I suggest Dina, I know you. I observe, some of you from time to time. I'm not stalking, if you will, but what occurs in my divine awareness is something will pop up by one, and it's because I divinely need to know. And using you as an example with this, to say, I see Dina had this right, Dina had that correct. Dina said this. Oh, and then a day later, oh, I see this happen. So I know what I'm doing is also being a witness for you, Dina, and accrediting and as a silent observer, if you will, until now. But it's not my job, divine job, to watch everyone. But what I do say is for divine reasons that the progress of ones does come up into my experience. And I acknowledge and I observe and I evaluate always the forward progress, if you will. Even at times, if it looks like one regresses, it's part of the overall forward progress. And I know if one regresses a bit, revisits an old thing, it's just some more clearing they have to do, and that shortly afterward they excel themselves beyond any point they were before, prior, in their empowerment process. Everything is ascertained. We were put here as a guarantee, if you will, of the overall ascension again. So I need to state that any moments of despair, if you will, these are only tests, and it's important for ones as well. You can bring yourself quicker out of these tests by remembering what I said. They're only tests. You have the answers. So pause for a moment when you're maybe in times of disarray and despair, and just pause for a moment and just say, all right, this is a test. I got the answers. What do I do? And by that way, you bring yourself up out of the test and you possibly and hopefully omit the test from ever reoccurring again because you have created the mastery and applied the remedy. And patience, yes, is one of the greatest powers and of course virtues because it's that initial adrenaline human reaction, which at times comes from a place that is energized by the despair they're seeing outside. So the trick is not to be controlled by that outside despair. Put yourself neutral. Do not be affected by it. Know it's a test and apply the highest to the test, and you quickly, more readily dissolve it. Did that answer it, Dina?
Yes, very well. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I appreciate you as well. So, any other questions or comments or topics? Speak up, anyone.
Hello, everyone. Can I ask a question?
By all means, Emma. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. You spoke about the violet color, um, and I'm seeing a lot this color when I am around some people or when I'm by myself. And so I understood that it was related to transmutation, but I would love to hear a bit more about that. Is it individual or collective? And understand a bit more what is it?
Thank you, Emma. Well, that's basically with the violet color. It's more widespread accepted that, at least this violet energy, it says perhaps either one of two things. When you see this violet energy around an individual, it may mean, because that energy is active, that the individual is transmuting. However, it also can mean that the individual has what we would call the threefold flame of God activated, and that they are actually emanating the transmuting violet flame outward in their energetic field, meaning that whoever they come into contact with, when that is their prominent energy in their field, that you can see that they're assisting or catalyzing ones to begin to go into their transmuting process. Does that answer that, Emma? Or I feel there's something more with this, so please expand if you wish.
Okay, yeah, it's part of the response. So it's like transmutating the energy, as I understood.
Yes, yes, for mostly for transmuting, but the ability to transmute, and it's also an indication of the most prominent energy that is active at that time.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So, were you seeing it in another's energetic aura? Was that what you were saying?
Just at night, generally, I saw this when I close my eyes. Yeah, I saw violet.
Oh, excellent. So, in that case, Emma, what I would say is that when you close your eyes, your energetic state, you are doing some of that transmuting, because the violet flame is activated. But also, we don't wish to restrict it. Also, what you could be doing is going into your violet flame energetic state, and while in the dream state, are going to assist someone else. We also do divine work in our dream state. So when you lay down, for example, one of the best ways to know what is occurring when you lay down in the night and you close your eyes and you see the violet energy, plasma, or light, what you can look at is look at yourself. All right, what state are you in? Are you actually transmuting anything? How do you feel? And if the answer is no, that you're feeling fine, you don't feel you're in a transmuting stage, then another option that you can choose, then you would say, all right, so I see the violet energy is activated. So this may mean that I'm going into the violet energy mode, and perhaps in my dream state, I will be going to assist another on the etheric level, or you're going to be you're getting yourself in the transmuting the powerful violet flame mode to go and do some form of transmuting for the collective or another. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other comments or questions or any new topic? Right ahead, anyone.
Evening, brother. How are you doing?
Great. I think it's Mike. Yeah, go ahead, brother. Is it
Hey,
Mike?
hi.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Mike. Um, yeah, I just wanted to chime in and obviously, very recently I've been very much in observational mode of the things that have been going on, the collapse of the old timeline, and the emergence of many of the attributes of the new world starting to shine through in various actions, organizations, and as you're well aware as well, brother, the the coming together of various organizations. I'm starting to see a drawing together of the people, the like for like people are starting to come together and draw together. I even commented on the video I made yesterday that I think if for anybody who was thinking about coming together with others, pooling, sharing space, pooling resources, pooling skills, experience, etc. I think now is one of the most fertile times to be doing that right now. And yes, there's a lot of tension. The old timeline. One of the questions I've broached as well is we know the inception of GPMS is inevitable. The ascension is on track. Um, the question is between now and then, that moment, how longer and how much more suffering are going to people allow themselves to endure before they let go and release and do what's necessary to move into the solutions. But I am seeing, I think I mentioned it to Brother Lee, I'm seeing great shifts in, it's in things like the language. For instance, many of the talking heads I watch, in order to sort of keep a finger on the pulse of what's occurring in the old timeline, the language that they're using is changing dramatically, and they're using certain keywords that I would expect to start hearing in the build up towards, a general large shift in consciousness. And even some of the low vibrational, intense things that we're seeing occurring by those minions, the dark ones, you can attribute it to them lashing out, fighting desperately for survival, for any justification of existence, or just to destroy as much as it can before it goes. Um, but in a strange way, the more it does that, the more self-evident it makes itself, and the faster it seems to push that awakening. So I suppose the only question I can muster from all of that, brother, is what is your sense on what's required? Do you think that that we're going to as it were, ascend in a gradual sense into the new world, or do you think that they're going to be significant key events, or just a key event that will trigger a defining point, or will it bleed one into the other until the new world is just there? What's your perspective on that, brother?
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for your observations. Also, yes, I'm seeing uh, key topics and key words coming up as well by others as they advance in the consciousness. One of those uh, topics was worth and value that I saw come up in one of the Patriot heard in one of the Patriot what they call chats or something. Femke just put it on the other day. She said, listen to this more or less. So it's with that. And also, I saw it in another, and in collaboration with Lee, I believe he also said a few others he had noted as prominent influencers and let's say shepherds as well as taking everything forward. I'll use the label shepherds because it is like herding uh, all of all of ours into the convergence. What I am feeling at this time, and I'm feeling it on the planet, on Earth, is because of what Father said, the possibility a very distinct possibility of the implementation of GPMS coming at in November 15th. So as because of that, that's only a couple months away. What I will say is that is what you were speaking about, all of these events worldwide are going to culminate to cause a chain reaction, and at the same time that this old is so violently and fervently imploding and tearing down, what we see is the GPMS energetic support increasing more and more. And of course, it's mostly in the east, if you will, with the Western world seeming to be the hardest to get on board yet. However, it is also inevitable. And just feeling with this, once we can get the US, if you will, the awakened ones in the United States and Canada, once we can get them uh, turned enough in realizing what needs to be done, then yeah, GPMS just catapults right forward. And part of the reasoning why the United States specifically is so important in the divine plan is because they have the most resource that's able to attribute and contribute to GPMS to make it go viral. But the biggest hindrance, if you will, was the good guy, good cop, bad cop play by the same side in the U.S. that kept, let's say, most of them in a false sense of security, which is being broken. And um, again, it's being broken through the realization. So, having said this, I see it happening very quickly, and it's also through the observations, brother Mike, like you and Lee and Femke, but only a few that gives me uh, the oversight, if you will, which is so important. And I don't need much of an oversight, as you know, because when we see some of these, what we might think are isolated events or indicators, actually, they're not. They're a micro indicator of the whole, what is transpiring. And, you've been following in the UK, for example, what's going on. And, you know, with this, how much more, can the human souls take? And that is the question, and what we both feel. I don't think they can take much more before they make the choice of the new world. And I'm just leave this part of the commentary with at this time worldwide, there's perhaps about 85% of the worldwide population that to some degree does not trust governments or any form of it. So that means it's set up fully for humanity to free themselves with GPMS dot world. You have anything more with that, Mike?
Um, Off the top of my head, I mean, not much more. The UK is a very intense example of that this process rolling out. I mean, I think the youngest arrest recently was an 11-year-old boy, and I think the charge was like shouting at a police horse or something. It was some ridiculous, and so it's the pressure now is it's like it has never been before, and that's all to the good, really, because if that's what is required, then that's what's required, to get people moving forward. Yeah, the content I'm doing now, I've basically just sort of realized is, to the best of my understanding, is it's just going to be a commentary on the end of the world as they knew it, really, as it collapses and comes into form. And yes, the like I said, the in terms of 85% of people don't trust the government. Yeah, it's in fact, I, I wouldn't be surprised if it was higher than that, to be honest with you, because I imagine people who are in government trust government even less than people who aren't in it because they're in it. They know what goes on in it. They trust it even less. Um, but yeah, it's at the same time, on the flip side of all of this, it's there is an excitement to it because when you know that there cannot possibly be much longer to go until, I mean, and for any potentially people listening who aren't even particularly spiritual, aren't particularly metaphysical, don't who are in doubt about things like divine intervention um, and all of those things. Even if you are just looking at the world from, I suppose, what you would call a classically empiricist, materialistic point of view, a three-dimensional, four-dimensional point of view, even from that perspective, you cannot look at the world and see anything other than um, something accumulating to to a culmination point. That there is a head is being reached on every single level, and and because it's happening on every single level, there's no longer any barrier. You can't say, oh well, people in this social condition in this part of the world wouldn't be able to understand what's going on, or these people in that part of the world with that culture won't. No, no, no. It's to such a degree and so fundamentally at every level now that there is no condition in which somebody can exist or have grown up in or experienced that doesn't allow them to see something that is distrustful or manipulative, or to give them something to aid higher levels of awakening. And it's happening so fast. I mean, it's happening rapidly. I'm witnessing it on a definitely a daily basis, sometimes an hourly basis. um and yeah, it's almost difficult to keep up with it. I mean, I'm not even trying to keep up with it, really. I'm just observing it purely. But yeah, brother, it's exciting, and looking forward to what comes next.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, things have to happen very fast. If we're going to make that November the 15th implementation. And yeah, as we're seeing, all of the indicators are there, and more every day and every moment are appearing and arising to substantiate that.
Oh,
So it's
that's
all,
one thing I though, brother.
go ahead.
It was in terms of the UK and Europe, really, but the UK is the, the microcosm of the macrocosm in that regard. Um, I think I asked Brother Lee this as well. Um, each day that goes by is it's looking it's becoming more increasingly difficult for me to see how the situation is going to resolve without conflict, some period of conflict, and quite possibly bloodshed. Um, can you counter that? Can you rebut that, or do you feel that that is unfortunately on the cards?
Well, with this, brother, there are some unknown variables to I at least, and again, we are divinely doing our best. What I will say is, for any escalated widespread chaos on the surface, that we do have that very real galactic element that has stepped in before and avoided major um, catastrophes, and it could also be divinely utilized again if necessary. And I just cannot give you if that will occur. But one thing I can say that how everything plays out that it's divinely orchestrated or allowed at least to play out to the degree that it does. For I and all of us, we don't wish to see any of this chaos, but as you said, perhaps some of it at least will occur. And to, again, let's say in the UK, to avoid it, we keep putting in the GPMS choice. But if we look at it so far, I think only 1,000 in the UK have accepted it, just over 1,000. And with that, when I look at it, when a couple years ago there were millions in the street in London protesting against the vaccines and those regulations and measures. And it's interesting that those millions are also not part of GPMS yet. So, there was something at least that was holding them back to not be. And when these floodgates open, this is, what you're going to see, what you had seen worldwide during the shutdown, the massive protests by millions. Once the floodgates open, all of these are coming into GPMS to take it into the full new world. It's already been the checkmate divinely upon the planet, if you will, in the chess game between the light and the darkness. We have already won. And it's not the darkness that is the problem anymore. It is the people that are still choosing to be part of the problem and where the conscious focus goes. And having said that, there are these certain things that you speak about that occur that began to change these ones to know that they uh, change that their divine incentive is activated to do the right good change. So yeah, without rambling on with a lot of things, there are the unknown variables, and my job as well of all of us here, perhaps is to keep the absolute peace, because in reality, the majority, we just create the new system peacefully. There doesn't have to be one drop of blood shed with this. It's just the simple overpowerment. And it's at times like these, which I'll say, if there's such thing as any divine pain, when I look and I'll use Trump in this, if Trump is a divine soul, if you will, very quickly, he could have led all of the American people with the GPMS tool, and we could have this all done. It's these prominent figures that are the supposed leaders and speakers of the people that can steer the people very quickly into the new world. But then you look at, we have the other things, all right. Is he a controlled opposition? Is he part of the darkness, or is he just incompetent to that degree that he has also been morally corrupt to the degree that he cannot see what the right thing is to do and cannot see the simple solution. But with that, with the simplicity of what GPMS is, there is no reason nor excuse for ignorance at all. As you know, we've kept it fully simple and logical that one did not even need to be awake to want to choose that new world, let alone any supposed leader. They should have recognized it instantly. So when they don't, and they ignore and reject it, it paints a picture on them that, they're at least not in high enough consciousness with it, or are actually perhaps part of the darkness. But again, it's not for us to put the focus on it with GPMS. We don't care what they're doing, the darkness, meaning they. We don't care what the elitists or the darkness is doing. They are, in fact, like only a little bit over 200,000 upon the earth. And by no means are we going to energize what those 200,000 less than decimal 5% minority are doing, because that's absurd. We already have the power, we have the people, the 99%, and we have the full plan to liberate the entire planet. So we keep our focus on that and gathering others that are in alignment with it. It's all over. The game, if you will, and the battle is all over, as we said. So now what we're doing is the ones that are ready to make the choice and come over, and we assimilate reality by having the majority agreement worldwide, which ratifies the reality into existence of the new world, but it also ratifies it into worldwide law, that it cannot be contested nor opposed by any of the existing legal structure, if you will. So again, the law of GPMS is really and truly, it's based on the inherent laws and the inherent knowing of morality, where all law actually comes from. It is the superior law over the deviated man-made laws. And actually the man-made laws contain no basis, no merit, no fundamentalism in true law. Their laws are actually designed, as we know, to protect uh, the dark system. They'll insist that they are, but they are to protect the system. But when we get to the intrinsic laws and the intrinsic human rights, no, they don't. Their legal system protects the system, the structure of it, the government and what have you, and it leaves the human rights un unprotected, if you will. So I don't need to go fully into this, but I think what I will be doing is having a GPMS Facebook Live and going into detail with the sensical, logical part of what I just touched on here. Like it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out, like I always said, and it doesn't take um, it doesn't take a leader to be educated in logic and simplicity and morality. And if they're there in a place that they're not bringing the people to GPMS, then it instantly shows us they're not moral. But again, we don't focus on those moral ones because they have no intention to come in anyway. We focus on the majority that's in alignment with the new world and getting this all done. Oh, I said enough there. So, any more, anyone on any of that? And what I'll soon do is shut this down. And any other closing questions or comments? Thank you. Well, sounds sounds great for today. So with this, I'll end this, and the recording will be put in the chat here. And again, anyone can share these recordings worldwide or what have you. It doesn't matter. There is no restriction on anything I say or write. Just no one ever needs to ask I for permission. Just purvey it out there openly. So with that, I'm going to end this and stop recording.